from Medicaid. When you receive it, go online and enter your updated information to maintain your coverage or to find other coverage if you're no longer eligible for Medicaid. Keep your health and keep your coverage. Learn more at fssabenefits.in.gov.
Have you lost Indiana Medicaid? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost, quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled you're with us. Hope you're enjoying what turned out to be a beautiful afternoon. I'll tell you what, I saw a forecast that had it raining all day, so the Harley's been sitting in a garage all day and got some work done at the office, headed downtown to do radio. But hope you're enjoying the weather, as I think we unexpectedly had some really nice weather this afternoon. I hope it holds up. I want to give a really warm Hoosier welcome to a group of folks who are in town right now. And this is a group of folks who are perhaps doing the most important job there is to do in this country. And that is they've taken on the responsibility of protecting our kids in schools. What we're hosting here in Indiana, and here in Indianapolis, we get some of the biggest conventions around. I mean, we have proven that we are a fabulous convention city. Downtown, obviously under Joe Hogsett, has diminished, I think, in terms of the quality of the experience. Homelessness is too high. Crime is too high, although you got a group of law enforcement officers who are fully capable of defending themselves and others. And this is the National Association of School Resource Officers. And as I said, those folks that have taken on the responsibility of keeping our kids in school safe. And I can't imagine a more important job, and I'm glad we have a group of professionals not only dedicated to that mission, but also continuing to educate themselves, continuing to do things like attend this conference where they're going to different seminars and having learning opportunities and whatnot on how to better coordinate and better do their jobs. And at the end of the day, we're all better for it because our kids are safer for it. I'm actually going to be able to attend just one of the presentations. The presenter is an expert on the active shooter threat, and he's done studies both focused on schools, but also more broadly looking at active shooters. And he's making a presentation tomorrow afternoon, and I'm thrilled to be able to go. It's law enforcement only at this conference, but just as his guest, I'm going to be able to sit in on that, and I'm really looking forward to that because it's something, as you know, that I'm extremely interested in. I've had indirect involvement. For instance, I'm sure you know, I represented Eli Dickin as his attorney. He was the hero in the Greenwood Park Mall who really famously ended a mass shooting that had a total duration of 15 seconds from the time the bad guy started shooting, and he unfortunately did take 3 innocent lives. But he had the intent and the capacity to take many, many, many more lives. He was still carrying over 100 rounds of ammunition when Eli ended that threat. Still had the rifle in his hands when Eli shot him the first time. And the total duration of that mass shooting from the time the bad guy started shooting innocents until Eli ended the threat was 15 seconds. And compare that to something like Uvalde, Texas, where you had someone in a school actively killing kids for over an hour while police decided what exactly their strategy should be on ending that threat. And we have all seen the video that's heartbreaking. You'll have a number of different reactions when you see that video if you haven't already. You'll be frustrated. You'll be angry. You'll be mortified. You'll be sickened. You'll be nauseated. Because as these people are standing around figuring out what the hell to do, kids are dying. Kids are actively texting, saying, he's killing us, help us. And you know what the difference there is? And this is something that a lot of people across the country will tell you does not happen. They'll tell you it's a myth. They'll tell you even more broadly the idea of a quote-unquote good guy with a gun stopping a bad guy with a gun. They'll say it never happens. It's a myth. I've heard that more times than I can count. I've heard that from the idiots at Moms Demand Action, Shannon Watts. I've heard it from the Bloomberg campaign. I've heard it from the Brady Center. I've heard it from the Gifford Center. I've heard it from politicians left and right who are advocating for gun control. They'll tell you it's a myth, that it just doesn't happen. Well, I beg to differ. I've now represented as their attorney 6 different people who have saved innocent lives with deadly force. 6. And that's just right here in central Indiana. Well, they weren't all in central Indiana. I've talked about Kirsty Janin, who is still one of my all-time favorite clients, right up there with Eli. Kirsty, if you haven't heard the story, and this was extensively covered in the news, Kirsty has talked about it publicly. I'm not speaking out of school here at all. It was a very publicly covered event, and Kirsty testified to it in the General Assembly with great effect. It's one of the reasons we have a new self-defense immunity law in Indiana. But Kirsty was enjoying a typical afternoon on a nice day in Rising Sun, Indiana, beautiful little town. If you haven't been there, it has a casino. It's in Ohio County, on the river, not far from Cincinnati. And by population, the smallest county in the state. And Kirsty's enjoying the afternoon. She has 2 daughters. Her daughters were home. And her mom is her next door neighbor, but they're in a very rural area. And her mom called and said, there's something weird going on. There's a guy in a truck parked across my driveway. He's on the street, but he's blocking my driveway, and he's acting really weird. He's getting out of the truck. He's getting back into the bed of the truck. He's sifting through trash. He's yelling incoherent gibberish as he's doing so. He's frustrated. He's mad. He's like picking up empty cigarette packages and shaking them and looking at them and throwing them aside. And he's looking for something. My personal speculation, it was drugs. He misplaced that last ounce of meth or whatever it was he was looking for. Well, that was good speculation as well, because later in the day, the medical personnel involved confirmed he was on meth and several other drugs. But at any rate, he's acting strangely. Kirsty and her mom are talking on the phone. And the mom finally says, this is odd enough, and he's blocking my drive. I'm going to call the police. Well, there in that area, the closest officer that got the call was actually an off-duty conservation officer. And he was off-duty, and he had his son with him. And he said, look, I'll go check this guy out. And he actually had his son with him, who was a friend of one of Kirsty's daughters. So he said, tell you what, I'm going to drop my son off at your house before I go check this guy out. Keep my son safe. So he drops his son off. He drives down. He's driving a Jeep, a marked conservation vehicle, marked as a conservation law enforcement officer. Pulls up behind this guy, flashes his lights, and now the guy's in the cab of the truck, and he starts to move. And he drives down. He's driving along, and I believe the officer at that point got on the loudspeaker and said, pull over. Guy pulls over. He's now literally pulled over in Kirsty's yard. As soon as he pulls over, he gets out of the truck. He's a stocky guy. Turns out he was a high school wrestler. The officer gets out of his car, and he's telling the guy in the truck to get back in the truck. Well, he's not listening. He's screaming profanities, and he's walking right up on the officer, and he's going, stop, put your hands on the vehicle. Guy doesn't stop. He walks right up on the officer, tackles him, plants him on his back, and goes for his gun. Now they're having a fight over the weapon. And the officer's not winning that fight. Kisty, her daughter, and the officer's son are watching the struggle for his life that the officer's going through literally in Kisty's front yard. Son is watching it too. And they see they're fighting over the gun. The gun's out of the holster. And it's coming very close to being pointed at the officer's face. Kisty at that point grabs her gun, runs out there. She's yelling at the guy to stop, get off him. Bad guy's not listening. Gun's coming around, about to point at the officer's face. Kisty shoots the bad guy. She actually intentionally shot him in the shoulder. I think maybe having seen a movie or two where someone gets shot, she had this image of him flying through the air off of the officer, or at least being knocked off of him to some degree. It didn't have that effect, but it did actually ricochet off a shoulder bone and went through both lungs, killed the bad guy. Officer, when I talked to him, said he heard the shot. He thought it was him dying. He said, I just hope my son didn't see me just die. How compelling is that? So you might wonder why Kisty needed a lawyer, because she's obviously a hero. Well, what happened is obviously the officer calls her a hero. She is. She's an amazing hero. The local prosecutor's office called her a hero. The local FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, called her a hero. Everybody called her a hero except just under 2 years later. I mean, to the day, under 2 years. One day before the statute of limitation expires, some dirtbag lawyer based out of Cincinnati sues Kisty for millions and millions of dollars, saying that she overreacted. She was just a hysterical female. There were just a couple of guys tussling in the front yard, because that's what guys do. They tussle. No reason to run out there, overreact as a hysterical female, and shoot this poor guy and kill him. It was not reasonable force. It was excessive under the circumstances. As ludicrous, as disgusting as that is, Kisty's now being sued for millions of dollars. And they say, oh, no, not to worry. This happened in your front yard, so you have homeowner's insurance, and we'll take the limits on the homeowner's policy, a mere $300,000, and we'll go away. What happened after that? In that case, we'll get into that when we come back. Right now, we're a little past the quarter hour. It's time to take a break. I'll be right back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
61% of Americans are more afraid of running out of money in their old age.
It's not that surprising.
I saw a meme and I just thought it was everything. It was like, okay, so Europeans, I'm going to take the summer off because I want a suntan. Americans, I'm going to take 3 days off to have open heart surgery.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up on Saturday, August 19th. This is again going to be out at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range in Avon. We just were out there a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you what, it went great. We had a full room. They've got a nice, big, comfortable classroom there at Parabellum, a really nice facility. They've got their own indoor range, and it's a great gun store as well. From 9 a.m., we say till 1:30. It more often goes at least till 2. And this is 5 hours, really, of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. When can you use deadly force lawfully and justifiably under Indiana law? How do you avoid prosecution for crimes like pointing a firearm, which is a crime in Indiana? Intimidation with a deadly weapon, criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon. I defend all those cases, and invariably, my clients are surprised at what the law is. and they're surprised they're being prosecuted. Well, you take Essentials of Indiana Gun Law, you're going to know exactly what you need to know to avoid being in that situation. You can register right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. Go to tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Hey, it's Big Joe for Absolute Comfort, your trusted independent American Standard Air dealer. Owner Chris Weddick sells the ductless Mitsubishi Electric Mini Split, which is a clean and extremely energy-efficient way to heat and cool a specific area.
These systems don't run the air through the ductwork, which is where a lot of your dust and allergies and other displeasing smells come from. And maybe best of all, you're not circulating viruses throughout the home.
Find out more at AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted independent American Standard Air Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking without cravings or your money back. Early bird special only $49.99. Stop smoking once and for all. Also, lose all the weight and let Mark Patrick Hypnosis destroy unwanted cravings. Seminars Thursday, July 20th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar at 8. Or Saturday, July 22nd at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com.
Celebrate big and save even more this 4th of July with Family Dollar. Find all you need from snacks and drinks to party supplies and everything to set the mood. Like festive decor, buy one, get one 50% off. Then fire up the grill to feed your guests. Find Wonder Brand Buns and Ballpark Franks both for just $3.25. And to wash it down, get 12 packs of Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper at 3 for just $12. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
Parents, are you tired of helping put your kids' shoes on? They're squirming, watching cartoons, anything but helping. Luckily, it's Skechers to the rescue. Introducing new hands-free Skechers Slip-ins. Footwear you can just get your kids to step into and their shoes are on. You don't need to bend over. You don't need to sit on the floor and try to wrangle them on. And they're available in all types of Skechers styles with and without laces, and most are machine washable. Find Skechers Slip-ins for kids or mom and dad at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish shoes are sold.
Join us at Downtown Indy's Fourth Fest, presented by UA Local 440 on the Indiana War Memorial Grounds. The event begins with a street party featuring live music, games, food, ice cream, and a beer garden from 6 to 10 p.m., followed by a spectacular fireworks display. The street party is brought to you by Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana, reminding you that one organ and tissue donor can save 8 lives and heal 75 more. Sign up at donatelifeindiana.org and talk to your family about your decision. For more info about the fireworks, go to downtownindy.org. Indy Humane, committed to helping Central Indiana's pets in need since 1905. Find your new best friend today, indyhumane.org.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So I'm talking about the case of Kirsty Jane. That was her name at the time. Her name's Kirsty Phillips now. And she got sued. It was a dirtball lawyer from Cincinnati. Well, he was representing the estate, or the personal representatives of the dead bad guy. So that's who's actually suing, but the lawyer filed the lawsuit on their behalf, and I'm sure it was the lawyer who hustled up the case. And so what happens in a situation like that? Well, in this case, and it went from the horrible event of Kirsty getting sued, which is she testified in our General Assembly. She testified in both the House and the Senate, the Judiciary Committees. It was an incredibly traumatic event. She was a single mom at the time. She's saving to put 2 girls through college, living in her own house, paying all the bills, and she believed absolutely she's going to lose her house, she's going to lose the college fund for her girls, lose her life savings. And of course, the plaintiff's lawyer offers you an out. They go, oh, well, we'll just take the limits of the insurance policy. But that's the last thing Kirsty wanted, because that to her was an admission that she did something wrong, that she took a human life in a way that wasn't appropriate and justified, was the suggestion that comes out of a settlement like that. And Kirsty didn't want to live with that. At the same time, most insurance policies will say that it's not up to you in a situation like that. If your insurance company wants to settle a lawsuit out from underneath you, then they can do so. Other policies are written a little differently. You have to consent. But a lot of times, if that's the case, if they can settle it, say they can settle it for $100,000 or $200,000, and you say no, and you go to trial, and insurance company gets hit for more than that, up to their limits, for instance, you owe the difference under some policies. So there's a lot of pressure on an individual. In this case, what happened is that the Fraternal Order of Police got involved down in Rising Sun, because they had the same concern. They didn't want to see this scumbag lawyer and the family of the dead bad guy get rich off a situation that their deceased relative started, that he instigated, that he came very, very close to murdering a police officer, and nobody should make money off of that. So the FOP had a fundraiser on GoFundMe and raised a whole bunch of money, almost 6 figures. And then the FOP called the NRA in Virginia and said, hey, we want the best self-defense attorney we can find in Indiana, because we want to fight this thing, and we've got the money to fight it. And I was thrilled and honored that the NRA suggested me. So Kirsty called me and kind of interviewed me over the phone, talked to the FOP guys, and I was hired. And so we went in, and the first time I met Kirsty in person, I told her 2 things. I said, first of all, we're going to win this lawsuit. We're going to get this thing dismissed. It's a POS lawsuit, if you know your acronyms. And these people don't deserve any money, but we're going to do something else. We're going to change the law in Indiana. We're going to change the law in Indiana. We're going to use this case as a momentum for a new law. And you know what? I'm going to sit down and write it. And I did. And then I approached Jim Lucas in the General Assembly as author, and some other folks as co-authors. Very pro-2A, very pro-self-defense legislators that we're blessed to have here in Indiana. And I told them the story. And by the way, Jim, through this whole process, got to know Kirsty as well. And we all became very good friends throughout this process. And I wrote that bill. And it went through the process of becoming a formal bill, got introduced, and then we had testimony hearings. And Kirsty showed up, man. It's what I always say, it makes a difference when the private citizen doesn't just whine from the sidelines, doesn't just talk about how terrible the laws are, doesn't just talk about how terrible the politicians are. How often do you hear that? How often do you hear that on the radio? Oh, the politicians just, they all suck. They're all corrupt. They're all bought off by their donors. Oh, they're Republicans, Democrats, they're all the same. Doesn't make any difference. They're all just out to screw you and get rich. Well, here's a suggestion. Write a law. Write a law that you think makes Indiana a better place. Take it to your legislator who represents you in the General Assembly, your representative or your senator, or both. If they don't want to take it up, they don't want to introduce it, find one who will and work with them. Create the best bill you can. Get them to introduce it, and then show up, for instance, if and when it gets set for a hearing, and testify. Tell the story. Why should this become the law in Indiana? That's what we did. And I'll tell you, when Kirsty told her story, not only are you being forced into something nobody wants to be forced into, which is to take a human life, as traumatic a situation as there is for a normal private citizen who's not expecting to have to do that in the course of a given day. You get up every day, put the badge on, you're trained, and you've been taught the mindset. It's still a traumatic event. It's still a horrible event to live through, and you still have to suffer from it. But it can be much more shockingly upsetting and shockingly disrupting to your life when it completely comes out of the blue and you're a private citizen. Well, that's what Kirsty went through, and she told her story of having to go through that process and the decision-making she went through before she pulled that trigger and what the impact on her was. And then to compound it, to get sued for millions of dollars. And to say that's why we need our new self-defense immunity law, to make sure that BS lawsuits like the one filed against her, first of all, get dismissed early. You don't spend years fighting them. That's why insurance companies a lot of times settle cases, because they say we could potentially spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 defending this lawsuit, or we could settle it tomorrow for half that, say $200,000. That's a good deal economically. We're going to settle it. What if you can get that case dismissed at the very early stages? Well, you don't settle it. You fight it. You get it dismissed. You discourage the next BS lawsuit from being filed. And not only that, we made explicitly clear there is complete self-defense immunity and no liability if someone was lawfully and justifiably using force in self-defense, and a presumption arises that you're completely justified, and you can use that presumption to get the case dismissed if you were not prosecuted for a crime as a result of your use of force in self-defense or defense of third persons. And get this, once you get the case dismissed or you win it at trial based on the immunity, the other side, in this case the scumbag plaintiff's lawyer's client, the family, has to pay you back all your attorney's fees. There's a mandatory attorney's fees provision. That's what we did. That's what we did. That's what Kirsty Phillips did. That's her name today. Then Kirsty Janin. That's what she did. She showed up. But to go back to my original point, we'll wrap this topic up and move on. You know what Kirsty was? She wasn't a good guy with a gun. She was a good lady with a gun who stopped a bad guy who was about to kill a police officer with a gun. Yes. Yes. You know, define guy very broadly, a good guy with a gun saved an innocent life, stopped a bad guy with a gun. It happened. And that was that situation. We'll come back and talk just a little bit about Eli Dick, and when we come back, right now we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
When talking about the first Independence Day, John Adams said,
"It ought to be solemnized with illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore."
Who are we to argue with the founding father? Join us for Downtown Indy's 4th Fest, presented by UA Local 440, Tuesday starting at 6, fireworks at 10, synchronized to a patriotic soundtrack here on 93 WIBC.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end.
The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
Wake up your taste buds with Bluebell Java Jolt, a delicious pint of coffee ice cream with dark chocolate-flavored chunks and a decadent coffee fudge swirl. It's the jolt you need to perk up your day.
The good old days are being made right now.
The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell Ice Cream at select Kroger stores.
Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling, Johnson County's American Standard independent heating and air conditioning dealer, invites you to celebrate America's birthday with them and have a shot at winning a Yeti cooler. Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling will be at the Franklin Firecracker Festival Monday evening, July the 3rd, by the stage with giveaways and a chance to win a new Yeti cooler. See you at Youngs Creek Park in Franklin. And with the hot weather, if you need AC service, visit callthemarshallnow.com. Marshall is your American Standard air dealer.
Do you wonder what your home is worth in an ever-changing housing market?
Did you know that your home's value changes constantly due to mortgage rate changes, seasonality, and what other homes near you have recently sold for?
I'm Greg Cooper.
And I'm Lisa Phillips.
And we want to be your real estate resource not only when you move, but even when you aren't.
Our passion is to serve Central Indiana homeowners with the best information and advocacy available.
Try us out. Find out what your home is worth online right now at HoosierHomeValues2023.com.
That's HoosierHomeValues2023.com.
Fox News, I'm Tom Graham. Former President Donald Trump is praising the recent Supreme Court decision to strike down the Biden team's plan to forgive up to $20,000 in student loan debt, suggesting the move would be unfair to all Americans.
They ruled against it, 100% against it. Amazing. And they also gave religious liberty a tremendous win. You know that.
And speaking in South Carolina, President Biden spending the weekend, meantime, in Camp David and rolling out an alternative plan after the high court shelved his student debt initiative Friday.
So the president said that the Higher Education Act will allow the Secretary of Education to waive or release loans under certain circumstances. There are very few details on how or why this route could work right now, and it's likely to face the same legal challenges as the president's original $440 billion student debt relief plan.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff at the White House. America is listening to Fox News.
AE Ammo is Greenwood's ammunition superstore. The largest variety in training, hunting, and self-defense ammo with the best prices locally guaranteed. Factory new 9mm FMJ ammo starting at $12 per 50-round box. Factory new 50-round boxes, $380 from $14.99 and $45 ACP from $18.99. And with the AE Ammo Customer Rewards Program, start earning points today towards money back to use on future purchases. Shop in-store or online at aeammo.com.
Gilbert worked in retail and restaurant management for 14 years. It was time for a change.
I recognized where I was at was vulnerable to the whims of the economy.
Then he heard about My Computer Career. Gilbert went for it.
In as little as 7 months, I got all of my certifications at a fraction of a cost for college.
He became an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
I can work from anywhere. I have more time for my family as well.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Basements get a bad rap, probably because so many of them are wet, leaky, and musty. Michaelis is putting an end to the horror show. Their time-tested waterproofing systems eliminate and prevent water issues. Damp and moldy becomes clean and healthy. They have a lot of homeowners enjoying their basements again. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
Scammers often try to dupe veterans to steal the VA benefits they've earned. Scammers may try to obtain sensitive information or collect payments over the phone, offer to move assets in order to qualify for pension, insist benefits may be sent directly to a friend or caregiver, or promise to manage benefits or file a claim for you. VA will never charge you for processing a claim, and only VA can determine eligibility. To report suspicious activity, visit va.gov/OIG/hotline.
Show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I haven't invited callers yet. I always want to do that early in the show. If you have any questions or comments, want to get involved in the discussion, give us a call, 317-239-9393. Talk a little bit about active shooters right now and self-defense shooting more generally. Partly because, as I mentioned, the National Association of School Resource Officers is in town, and they're here for a training conference. And I get to go to one of these presentations tomorrow afternoon. I think it's several days long. I mean, they've been here for a while. So we're proud that they chose Indianapolis, and we're glad they're here. Couldn't be a more important group of people, I think, out there in terms of the job that they do. They're protecting our kids every day. So welcome to those folks, and thanks for coming to Indy. We hope you're having a great time. We hope you're learning a lot. But I'm going to a presentation as the presenter's guest about active shooters. And again, there are a lot of myths, not just that they never happen in terms of a good guy with a gun stopping a mass shooting. They'll tell you it's a myth that a good guy ever does that. The gun control proponents, people who would take away your Second Amendment rights tomorrow if they had the prerogative, will tell you it just never happens. It's a myth. We're just a bunch of redneck wannabe pistoleros running around with guns. And the idea that we could stop a mass shooting is a complete fallacy. Well, that's been proven wrong. In fact, Dr. John Lott at the Crime Prevention Research Center has done a lot of research on this, and it's really interesting. He says that law enforcement, the FBI in particular, have dramatically undercounted the number of times that armed citizens have stopped a mass shooting. Because the FBI will say, oh, no, it never happens. It's down in the single digits, low single digits in terms of percentages. And Dr. Lott says they're dramatically undercounting that in terms of what they call mass shootings or prevented mass shootings. Because part of the difficulty in measuring such a thing is that a lot of times the mass shooting didn't happen. So when you only look at quote unquote successful mass shootings, that is somebody goes somewhere and kills a bunch of innocent people, and you look at the number of those that an armed citizen intervened in successfully, it's almost a non sequitur. By definition, if it's a mass shooting and it meets and again, there are different definitions. Some say at least 3 people shot or 4 people shot or 4 people killed. That if that does or doesn't include the shooter, there's all kinds of different definitions. That's why the numbers of mass shootings vary dramatically depending on who's counting. And it's very easy to sway the data to make whatever point you're trying to make. But how do you measure the ones that didn't happen? Or where only 1 or 2 people died, so it's not technically a mass shooting, or it wasn't technically an active shooter event, because an armed citizen stopped it from becoming one. And isn't that the best possible outcome? I mean, a similar issue. I was at a presentation. It was a political stunt is what it was, and I was sort of the token Pro 2A person invited, but it was over at the IU Law School. And some IU law students put this thing on, and they were talking about, preventing gun violence in Indiana. And it was a whole bunch of people who were in there arguing for gun control, and little old me. And what they did, it was very intentional, is they put me on a panel where my only job and the only thing I was allowed to do was simply answer some questions put to me. And I kind of used that opportunity like politicians do, which is I didn't much care what the question was. I was going to say what I came to say. And related it generically to the question, but for the most part, I wanted to say what I wanted to say, and partly to rebut some of the other ridiculous points I was hearing made. But one study it was one of the law students who actually organized this thing. She put up this study and this statistical number, and she was so proud of this number. To her, this just ended the debate about whether an armed citizen has any value at all. And she said something like I forget the number. It was getting low single digits. Only 5%, pick a number. It was some number similar to that. It was below 10. I want to say in the low single digits. Only 5% of victims of violent crime were armed. And she presented this as a means of of arguing how so few people are carrying guns or use their gun to prevent violent crime from happening. And I'm sitting in the audience, I started laughing. And I could see her kind of look at me out of the corner of her eye. And I did a face palm, and I'm shaking my head. And I leaned over to the guy next to me, who I have no idea why he was there or what his orientation was. He didn't particularly react positively to my comment, but I couldn't stifle it. I had to say it. I leaned over to the guy and I went, she's talking about victims of violent crime, right? Well, most of us carry guns so we don't become victims of violent crime, so we don't become part of that study. We're not part of the data set. We weren't a victim of a violent crime. That's the point. That's why we carry. You're studying a group of people who were victims and then saying, well, very few of them are carrying a gun. Why don't you use the same data point to say, wow, if more people carried guns, there'd be fewer victims? It's the same data point. And that's the logic. But that's what we hear. Well, what else do you hear? You hear, well, a citizen who's not trained the same as a police officer, not trained the same as the military. If an active shooting starts, they'll just panic. They'll spray bullets in every direction. They'll kill innocents and never hit the bad guy. I've heard that a million times. What happened in the Greenwood Park Mall? Eli Dickin has no formal training. I'm talking to him a day or two after the shooting, and I'm asking the same questions a lot of people were curious about. Eli, what kind of training have you had? None? Oh, come on, none? His first 4 shots were from 43 yards away. I know, I lasered it. From the exact location where he started shooting to the exact location where the bad guy was when Eli shot him the first 2 times. Shot at him 4 times, hit him twice from 43 yards. No formal training. So, well, my granddad taught me how to shoot when I was 10 or 11. I go, yeah, but when you go to the range, are you really, really good? I've never really been to a formal range. You know what? He rose to the occasion. How many innocent people? Eli shot 10 shots total. 4 from 43 yards, 4 from about 25 yards, 2 from about 10 yards. How many shots total did he miss out of 10? 2. And those were from 43 yards. How many of those struck an innocent victim? None. When you watch the security tape, and again, it hasn't been released to the public. I was fortunate enough, as Eli's lawyer, the Greenwood police let me see it. Twice, Eli paused and allowed screaming passersby to run past his sight picture. He paused shooting, raised the muzzle of his gun to let people run by before he resumed, ending the threat. That's what an untrained person did. Now, can everybody do that? Of course not. Could every police officer, every member of a SWAT team have done that? Don't know. I would never say ever, and never say 100%. But that's what Eli Dickin did. And that's why so many of the anti-gun people just hate talking about that shooting. Because what they say doesn't happen. What they say, the horrible consequences will be, that's what didn't happen. No innocents killed. Bad guy got shot 8 out of 10 times. The threat ended. And that total mass shooting, from the time he started shooting innocent people to the time Eli ended the threat, lasted 15 seconds. Compare that to the school shootings like Uvalde. Compare that to Parkland, Florida, at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where there they had an officer who stayed outside. I'll guarantee you that they're talking about that at the conference I mentioned. I'll guarantee you every one of those people, they're at this conference, a threat unfolds, they're running to the threat. They're ending the threat. Well, that's what Eli Dickin did. And that's the lesson we learned from that, whether the people who despise your Second Amendment rights want to talk about it or not. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Life's certainties. Taxes.
We'll take that. And that's all I had left.
Death. And Indianapolis traffic.
Hey, hon, where are you? Now, you know, sitting on the northeast side, I'm never coming home.
Do less sitting.
I hate traffic.
And do more living.
The long-term ramp closure.
Matt Baird Traffic.
Eastbound 465. Ramp will be closed through 2024.
Mornings and afternoons.
Lane restrictions on the northeast side.
On 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. This is 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. We've got one of those coming back to Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range in Avon, Indiana, coming up on Saturday, August 19th, 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m., located right there on Kingston Street. In Avon, conveniently located, great indoor range, great gun store, and 5 hours of what you need to know as an Indiana gun owner to stay on the right side of the law. If you own a gun, you have a gun next to the bed at night, and certainly if you carry a gun, this is the course you need to take. You can check that out at tactical-firearms.com. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples, for 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. That's tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
These are emails filling your employees' inboxes. Downloads beaming from device to device. And any one of them could be a cyber attack. Is it possible to keep your small business safe? It is with Comcast Business Security Edge. It helps keep your connected devices protected, and you can monitor threat activity in real time. So this security threat is the last thing you need to worry about. With Comcast Business, advanced security isn't just possible, it's happening.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $39 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle. Call or go online today to learn more. Offer ends 7/23/2023. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments. New 100 megabits per second internet and Security Edge customers only. Equipment, installation, taxes, and other fees extra and subject to change. After 12 months, regular rates apply.
Life's full of unexpected joys, like problems with water. That's why there's Michaelis, a crew of 24/7 experts who are rescue ready, day or night, one phone call, for a gazillion disasters. From frozen pipes and sewer backups to your teenager pleading ignorance on the proper use of a plunger. At Michaelis, they know that water damage waits for no one. Their fleet of trucks is, well, fleet. Over 3 decades of finding the source of the problem, then cleaning up, drying out, and restoring your home or business to better the new condition. That's Michaelis, fully licensed and insured, and fully empathetic to your anxiety, including dealing with insurance claims. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
When you've been injured in a car wreck, there's a lot at stake. Your family, your job, your future. And the insurance company knows there's a lot at stake for them too. That's why you deserve a law firm with a proven track record of success. I'm attorney Darryl Isaacs. Reputation matters. Experience matters. You matter. When everything's at stake, Isaacs & Isaacs is here for you in Indiana. Just click to get help quick at WeWin.com.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
There's a lot of sexy content on the internet. And there's WIBC, full of faces meant for radio. Hammer and Nigel, Kendall and Casey. Okay, Casey could be on TV. Now streaming every day on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/WIBC. rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. We've got a very, very short segment here at the top of the hour, as we sometimes do. I want to go into, after the break, I want to go into what's going on or not going on in Broad Ripple. And if you've heard me talk about this here or on Hammer and Nigel, then let me just set the stage. You may have heard part of this before. But, you know, we've had shootings, we've had violence in Broad Ripple for far too long. A lot of people have just stopped going to Broad Ripple because they don't feel safe. Well, here a week or so ago, you had 4 people shot, like 2 a.m., at roughly 62nd or Broad Ripple Avenue and Guilford. And 3 of the people died. And so you had a lot of people concerned about this, as they should be. But you heard a proposal, and this, I think, started with the Broad Ripple Village Association, but then it was picked up quickly by Mayor Hogsett. And they wanted to turn Broad Ripple into a gun-free zone. And a lot of people said, well, hold on. How do you turn Broad Ripple into a gun-free zone in the sense of now prohibiting guns on city streets, on city sidewalks? What if somebody has a license to carry? How do you keep them out? And is it legal? Can they do that? Because we have a preemption law here in Indiana that says local governments, like the city of Indianapolis, can't regulate the carrying of firearms. Now, there are certain exceptions to that. But how are they going to get this done? Well, we heard some more detail and some explanation. I'll get more into that when we come back. We'll also talk about new developments because they appear to have gone 180 degrees on this proposal. We'll talk about all those things when we come back. We're breaking at the top of the hour. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
After this hypnosis, I want to eat good food.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
It was life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to.
Bridget, how much have you lost now?
I had lost a total of 83 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
And I would just say go for it.
What are you waiting for? Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late night eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Seminars Thursday, July 20th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Or Saturday, July 22nd at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Registration is 30 minutes before the seminar. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Honey, is our car still under warranty?
No, not anymore.
My sister just got an extended service plan from Ox Car Care.
Ox Car Care?
Yeah, Ox will cover our repair bills if anything happens to our car, new brakes, a transmission, AC, or engine problems. Plus, Ox Car Care offers free oil changes, tire rotation, and roadside assistance.
Wait a minute, we pay nothing on the repairs? Ox gets it fixed for us? Free oil changes, free tire rotation, and free roadside assistance? What's the number?
800-240-1465. Ox has a 30-day money-back guarantee and an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. They handle their claims from start to finish, unlike other warranty companies. We should call now, 800-240-1465.
The last thing we need is an unexpected car repair bill. I'm calling Ox Car Care now.
Call Ox Car Care for your free quote. 800-240-1465. Ask about senior and military discounts. Don't get stuck with a major car repair bill. Call Ox Car Care, 800-240-1465 or oxcarcare.com.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Hypnosis to destroy unwanted cravings. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick. Destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Seminars Thursday, July 20th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. And Saturday, July 22nd at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Jeff Chapman here. Lordy, I can't believe Chapman turns 40. Since 1983. Heck, I was still in my disco days back then. You know, staying alive. If your AC's having trouble staying alive, call the man for all seasons. Chapman Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Drains. ChapmanHeating.com.
Do you need air conditioning service and need to find a local well-trained expert you can trust like Reinhardt Heating and Cooling? Find that American Standard air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Broadcasting from the Peterman Brothers Heating, Plumbing, and Electrical Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Two takes on a major decision. I'm Tom Graham, Fox News. President Biden is fuming after a series of Supreme Court decisions. Well, the majority nixed his student loan forgiveness plan. On the flip side, Donald Trump praising the decision.
And then yesterday, the Supreme Court also ruled that President Biden is not allowed to wipe out hundreds and hundreds of billions, probably trillions of dollars in student loan debt, which would have been very unfair to the millions and millions of people who have paid their debt through hard work and diligence.
The ex-president speaking to supporters today in the early primary state of South Carolina. President Biden off the campaign trail, spending the weekend at Camp David. Before leaving, he pledged to those with student loans that he'll roll out another plan to help those struggling with debt.
Now, all of these issues are going to remain monumental on the campaign trail for Republican candidates and President Biden as well, as he seeks to move forward with a Plan B for his student loan relief.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff at the White House. Many Americans are hitting the road this weekend and ahead of the 4th of July. Well, for those going by air, it's been a nightmare. Cancellations have been sky high over several days. Fox's Steve Harrigan is at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta.
One of the busiest days on record Friday. TSA checked 100,000 people here on Friday, the biggest since the Super Bowl in 2019.
The line was wrapped around. I ain't never experienced nothing like that before in my life.
Right now, the line's moving pretty steadily. Some log jams outside the airport. A lot of traffic on the way in.
FlightAware.com currently reporting about 3,600 flights have been delayed so far today, with about 175 cancellations. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards vetoing 3 bills he says target the LGBTQ community. Among those bills, a bill banning gender-affirming care for minors, for children, teenagers. Also a ban on discussing sexual identity in public classrooms. America is listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network, the Fox News Rundown, a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Your daily dose of news twice a day, going far beyond the headlines, tapping into the massive reporting resources of Fox News to provide a full picture of the news of the day.
I'm Dana Perino.
I'm Brett Baer.
I'm Maria Bartiromo.
I'm Brian Kilmeade, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey, this is Trey Gowdy, host of the Trey Gowdy Podcast. Every Tuesday, you'll hear what's on my mind. Plus, every Thursday, there's a special bonus episode where we answer the questions that are on your mind. Make sure to spend your Tuesdays and Thursdays with Trey. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Hope to see you.
America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Preparing for next week. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. Parts of the state are in for some severe weather this weekend, and it looks like next week may also feature some rain and storms.
Going into Monday and Tuesday, there is going to be a threat for isolated shower thunderstorm in the afternoon and early evening, but there'll be a lot of dry hours.
That's meteorologist Mike Ryan with the National Weather Service Indianapolis. He says we may see more summer storms and rain as the week progresses. In order to stay safe, you and your family are encouraged to get consistent weather updates. An all-star Indiana Pacers player has signed a huge contract extension that will allow him to stay with the team for another 5 years. Tyrese Halliburton, who plays as a guard for the team, signed the extension worth an estimated $260 million. This is the most expensive contract ever negotiated between the team and one of its players. Halliburton joined the Pacers last year after getting traded by the Sacramento Kings. If you're concerned about overeating this holiday, one health organization has some suggestions on how to manage your diet and still enjoy 4th of July festivities. The Diet and Nutrition team with Community Health Network has tips including don't show up to an event hungry, use whole grain buns, sit away from the food so you're not tempted to graze, and don't drink your calories, stick to water. And speaking of overeating, it's almost time for this summer's Indianapolis Burger Week. Between July 17th and 23rd, participating restaurants will sell their burgers for just $7. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Showers and thunderstorms later tonight. Some of those could be on the stronger side. On Sunday, partly cloudy skies, a scattered shower or thunderstorm. Some of those could be on the stronger side as well. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
Have you lost Indiana Medicaid? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost, quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling, Johnson County's American Standard independent heating and air conditioning dealer, invites you to celebrate America's birthday with them and have a shot at winning a Yeti cooler. Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling will be at the Franklin Firecracker Festival Monday evening, July the 3rd, by the stage with giveaways and a chance to win a new Yeti cooler. See you at Youngs Creek Park in Franklin. And with the hot weather, if you need AC service, visit callthemarshallnow.com. Marshall is your American Standard air dealer.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled you're with us. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon. Again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the weather held out much better than it was supposed to. I saw a forecast said pretty much rain all day. So I left the Harley in the garage and expected for it to be a lot wetter than it's been. So I hope you're enjoying the day. But in the meantime, glad you've tuned in to the Gun Guy Show. We'll talk about what's going on in Broad Ripple, or what's not going on in Broad Ripple. Before I do, though, I had a question. It was a private message on Facebook. But somebody said, hey, Guy, just curious, you said the FOP in Kirsty Janen's case raised almost $100,000. What happened to that money? That is a great question. And let me revisit that issue before we get back into Broad Ripple. And if you weren't listening to that part of the show, when I defended Kirsty Janen, now Kirsty Phillips, who was a hero down in Rising Sun, Indiana, saved the life of a police officer during a traffic stop gone bad where he was about to be shot with his own gun. She heroically saved that officer's life with deadly force, but then got sued by the family of the dead bad guy. And the local FOP down there, having had one of their officers saved by Kirsty, wasn't real thrilled with the fact she'd been sued, and they started a GoFundMe, and they raised a whole bunch of money, $90-some thousand. And then Kirsty hired me, and they had the funds to pay for a lawyer out of that. Well, the deal we had all along is that, I was going to bill for my time in defending that lawsuit, and anything of that money raised that didn't go toward the cost of the litigation, including my fees, was going to be returned to the FOP to go to the children's charities that the FOP also supported. And that was about the best possible outcome for that money. And so we sought about defending the case, and then on a parallel track, we wrote the new self-defense immunity law, and we were arguing for it in committee. And at the time it went to committee, the way I wrote the law initially, and this was very much on purpose, was it was retroactive. and it would have given immunity to and had a mandatory award of attorney's fees for those cases that had already been filed before the effective date of the statute, which was going to be the next July in 2019. So it would have covered Kisty's case. And after it was argued in committee, and that's how the bill was written at the time, and it obviously got a favorable response from the Judiciary Committee in the House, the plaintiff's lawyers in that case, at a very early stage, I mean, the case only went on for 6 months or so, which is very, very short for a typical lawsuit. They voluntarily dismissed the case after media coverage on the new self-defense immunity law that would require them to pay us back our attorney's fees if we got the case dismissed on the basis of this new immunity. And so they've dismissed the case. In fact, Jim Lucas, Representative Jim Lucas, who introduced that bill, put out a social media post, and he said, our new self-defense immunity law has claimed its first victory, and it's not even the law yet. And so we got our case dismissed very, very early. So we spent less than a third, is my recollection, of the money raised by the FOP to answer the gentleman's question who sent me the message. We spent less than a third of it on the expenses of litigation, and the rest went to the children's charities that the FOP from Rising Sun, Indiana had already had a history of supporting. So that was a great outcome, and I appreciate that question. And yeah, no, my fees aren't nearly that high. I'm a damn good lawyer, but I'm really pretty cheap. Well, let's talk about Broad Ripple. So we mentioned before the break that after the most recent set of shootings, including 4 people that were killed here just barely over a week ago in Broad Ripple, 4 people shot, 3 of them died. There was a proposal from the Broad Ripple Village Association, and it was quickly heralded by Mayor Hogsett in Indianapolis, where they're going to turn Broad Ripple into a gun-free zone. And Mayor Hogsett had a presser, and he's all gung-ho for this, and he said, yes, he goes, if this is passed, assuming that's by the City County Council, he said it'll go into effect this week, meaning the weekend we're in right now. Well, did that happen? No, it didn't. What was their plan in terms of how to do that legally? Well, I don't know exactly. So you have to speculate a little bit based on the public statements. But here's the hurdle they had to get over, and that is that the city of Indianapolis can't just come out and say you can't carry a gun in Broad Ripple. Now, the individual businesses, the bars, the restaurants, any other business in Broad Ripple can say you can't bring a gun in our store. That's their private business, their private property. They can have whatever policy they want. And you see that on some businesses. They have big signs up, no guns allowed. They can have that policy if they want. Now, in Indiana, unlike a lot of other states, you don't commit a crime by ignoring that sign. You're just violating their policy. Just like any other policy. If they have a sign up that says no masks, no service, and you walk in with no mask on, they can go, hey, yo, we have a mask policy. You have to leave if you don't put a mask on. If you leave, no harm, no foul. If you refuse, now you're trespassing. You can go to jail for trespass. Same with no shirt, no shoes, no service. Same deal. You walk in there with no shoes on, then go, hey, yo, got to have shoes on to come in here. Oh, I'm sorry, you leave. No harm, no foul. Same with a gun. You walk in, you got a gun. Now, most of us carry concealed. They're not going to know you have a gun. But let's say they see the outline under your shirt. Let's say you're open carrying, whatever. You walk in, hey, yo, you can't have a gun in here. You got to leave. You got to leave. And if you don't, you're trespassing. That's how it works. But that's for private business. Can the city of Indianapolis say you can't carry a gun on the city streets and on the sidewalks in Broad Ripple? Well, the bottom line is our Indiana Preemption Act says local governments like the city of Indianapolis can't regulate firearms. And in particular, they can't regulate the carrying or possession of firearms. It's illegal. And if they try, they can be sued. I know I've filed a number of these lawsuits all across the state. And it's got teeth because your measure of damage is if you file one of these lawsuits because the local government is regulating firearms when the Preemption Act says they can't, you can recover essentially 4 times your attorney's fees as liquidated damages, we call it. Because the statute says you can recover 3 times your attorney's fees as damages and your attorney's fees. 4x when you add it all up. And that can add up really quickly. You multiply it times 4, it could be a big old price tag if a local government wants to violate the Preemption Act. But there are 13 exceptions to the Preemption Act, which sounds like a lot, but really they're very limited. One of them is, and we're pretty sure this is what they were going to rely on in Broad Ripple, is that if a private organizer or promoter of an event leases property from a political subdivision, that's a local unit of government. You have the state as one unit of government, and then the state's divided up into all these other little local units of government, counties and towns and cities and townships and airport authorities and housing authorities and all these other little units of government below the state level. Just local government. Local governments can't regulate firearms. There are certain exceptions. Among the 13 exceptions is one we call the Jimmy Irsay exception, kind of tongue-in-cheek, because the owner of the Colts came out while we were arguing over the Preemption Act in the General Assembly and said, hey, this would prohibit the city from saying you can't bring a gun into property owned by the city, and the city owns a stadium. Then it was the RCA Dome, now Lucas Oil Stadium. And we don't really want guns at Colts games. So they built an exception into the Preemption Act that says the organizer or promoter of an event, like the Colts, that leases property from a local unit of government, like the city of Indianapolis, or the Capital Improvement Board, more specifically, that owns the stadium, another unit of government, where that private organizer or promoter of an event leases that property in order to stage that event, they can prohibit firearms, and the city can help them enforce that. Now, it's still not a crime. If you carry a gun into Lucas Oil Stadium for a Colts game, you don't go to prison. You just get kicked out. Now, they may void your ticket. They may void your season tickets. I don't know. I had season tickets for 30-some years. I'm sure that was in the fine print somewhere. You would think I would go figure that out. But you don't go to prison. They can't make it a crime because it's not otherwise a crime. I have personally carried a gun into Lucas Oil Stadium. When? During 5 years ago, the NRA annual meeting, when the NRA allowed you to carry a gun at most of the events. As long as the presidential candidates weren't speaking, you could carry a gun at the annual meeting. So it's not a crime to carry a gun there, but they can prohibit it through the process where a private organizer or promoter of an event leases property from the city. So how does that apply to Broad Ripple? I'll explain that and then give you an update on where we are now. When we come back, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
When talking about the first Independence Day, John Adams said,
"It ought to be solemnized with illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore."
Who are we to argue with the founding father? Join us for Downtown Indy's 4th Fest, presented by UA Local 440, Tuesday starting at 6, fireworks at 10, synchronized to a patriotic soundtrack here on 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up Saturday, August 19th. This is going to be at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range located in Avon, Indiana. We were just there a couple of weeks ago. We had a great event, sold out class. I'm sure this one will sell out too. This is 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. You can sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. Register and pay right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place for 2 days straight. 3. It's because of the Xfinity 10G network. Internet that can handle a house full of screens at once, with basically no interruptions. And it's only getting faster. When I was their age, internet like this was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Please go home.
The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through July 30th, new customers can get 200 megabit per second internet on the next generation Xfinity 10G network. for just $35 a month for 2 years. Plus, there's no annual contract required, and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
Michaelis presents Password. The word is basement.
Wet. Rain. Leaky. Faucet.
Stinky.
Socks.
Moldy?
Underwear.
No, it's basement.
Ugh.
Really moldy underwear.
Well, sometimes.
Ew.
Basement waterproofing and French drains. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
Make it Michaelis. Michaelis.
Come on, take your basement back. 844-FIX-INDY.
That kitchen or bath remodel you've been ready to start? With inflation rising, waiting is just going to make it more expensive. Start that remodel today. Hey, it's Tony Katz for Booher Remodeling. B-O-O-H-E-R. BooherRemodeling.com. Get on the schedule now to avoid some of those price increases. Booher Remodeling is the finest remodeler in Central Indiana with the best materials and most skilled craftsmen. They'll guide you through the entire process to make your vision come to life. Go to BooherRemodeling.com to set up your free consultation. BooherRemodeling.com.
Are you working way too hard for way too little? There's never been a better time to consider a career in IT. You could enjoy a recession-resistant career in a rewarding field with plenty of growth opportunities and often flexible work environments. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. You could start your new career in months, not years. Take classes online or on campus, and financial aid is available to qualified students, including the GI Bill. Now is the time. mycomputercareer.edu.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here. If you have a clogged pipe, who to call is a no-drainer. Call my friends at Hope Plumbing. They're experts in the industry and trustworthy plumbers who care about the health and safety of your home. During the month of July, Hope is offering a $49 mainline cleaning with a free camera inspection. Stop the gurgling in your pipes and don't stress over all those tree roots in your yard. Call Hope Plumbing today and schedule your $49 mainline cleaning.
The Alzheimer's Foundation of America is holding a free educational conference on July 19th as part of its Educating America tour to provide Indianapolis area residents with information about brain health, caregiving, support services, and more. It will take place at the Indiana Biosciences Research Institute. Learn more or register for the free Alzheimer's educational program by visiting www.alzftn.org/tour or calling 866-232-8484.
There are 48 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States. Visit aarp.org/caregiving to access a free guide to help navigate your caregiving journey.
There are screening tests to catch cancer early. Visit cancer.org/getscreened.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So, Broad Ripple. How does the city, in partnership with the Broad Ripple Village Association, use this exception, which we call the Jimmy Irsay exception, because I think they were thinking about Colts games and Pacer games, when they build it into the statute? How do they use that to make Broad Ripple a gun-free zone? Well, theoretically, and again, this is sort of reading between the lines to figure out what it is they're going to do, but it seems to me that the plan probably was to block off some significant section of Broad Ripple. And I'm thinking 62nd Street or Broad Ripple Avenue from College to Guilford or Westfield or some subset of that, but block it off. The logistical problem they have is you have to block off all the side streets as well and either have metal detectors at all of them or have some of them just not passable, just fenced off. So you have limited points of entry, then you have metal detectors and armed security, probably IMPD officers, at each of those points. and you make everybody coming into that area go through a metal detector. Well, that's how you do it logistically. How do you do it legally? Well, theoretically, and they were just talking about this, by the way, every Friday and Saturday night. So it's not during the week. At least that was the proposal I saw. So every Friday and Saturday night, they would what? They'd close it off, put up their metal detectors, and call it Friday Night in Broad Ripple. It's an event. And lease all the public space, streets, sidewalks owned by the city to the Village Association or some other private promoter of an event to say, aha, it would have to be a private promoter, and say, aha, we now have a promoter or organizer of an event that's leasing property from the city. They can make it a gun-free zone. Now, the breakdown in that is just calling a typical Friday night in Broad Ripple an event. I mean, is that like a Colts game or a Pacer game? Well, of course not. They're using that as a pretext to just not allow anyone, including law-abiding citizens, including people with a license to carry or people that are legally authorized and capable of carrying under constitutional carry, just prevent them from exercising their Second Amendment rights. Exactly what the preemption statute was designed to prevent. When there's no event going on, it's just business as usual in Broad Ripple, except we're fencing it off and making it look and feel like a prison. So to the extent it was a pretext all along and it wasn't truly an event, they were just trying to shoehorn themselves into this exception in the preemption statute, they were looking at a potential lawsuit. They were looking at a potential lawsuit by my organization, the 2A Project. We'd file that. Now, of course, it depends on what it is they come up with. If there really is a legitimate event scheduled on some Friday or Saturday, and it looks like they're really following not only the letter but the spirit of the preemption law, then okay. They figured it out. They got a pass. May look at amending the statute, but in the meantime, all right. So it depends on what it is. But if it's just typical Friday or Saturday night in Broad Ripple, you're just shoehorning yourself into this exception, as I said, sorry, that doesn't fly. This is what the preemption statute specifically designed to prevent. I've got a Second Amendment right to carry. The city of Indianapolis can't just strip me of that, absent very limited circumstances. But now it appears they've done a 180. And if not a 180, something pretty close to that. Because what we just heard Wednesday night is the Village Association, they got back together and they now said what they're doing, and they did not rule out, they didn't mention one way or the other the whole gun-free zone business. So maybe that's still on the table, maybe it's not, but it definitely took a step backward because what they announced in order to make things safer in Broad Ripple is the bars are all now voluntarily. They voted on this and it was unanimous apparently. The bars in Broad Ripple are all going to close at 1 p.m. 1 a.m., excuse me. Producer Carl goes, 1 p.m.? Guy, you can't have a late lunch in Broad Ripple. Thank you, Carl. You saved me from my stupidity there. 1 a.m. They're all going to close at 1 a.m. And get this. They said they're going to stop the use of private promoters to organize events that may attract an unsavory crowd. They said they're going to push back on, they're going to cut back on, they're going to diminish the use of private promoters. What's that mean? That's the exact opposite of the direction they need to go in order to legally get around the preemption statute to declare a gun-free zone. That tells me, and again, I'm just reading tea leaves here, this is speculation, and they could pivot again and make me look like an idiot for even saying this, and I fully acknowledge that's not only possible but likely. But what that appears to me to be is that they've completely backed up on making it a gun-free zone. I would like to think because they saw the likelihood of getting sued under the preemption statute and the likelihood of losing. But for whatever reason, by saying that, yeah, okay, they're going to close early, that makes sense to me. I get it. Look, no business wants to give up possible, opportunity to make money, to generate revenue, and they're cutting off 2 hours of business. Okay. They're cut down costs as well, and, I'm sure diminish the bad guys coming into Broad Ripple to start trouble to the extent the businesses simply are open. There's nothing going on. There's nobody there to prey upon. And you're going to get people off the streets that much earlier. That's got to help. But the fact they're going to back up on the use of private promoters tells me, because that's what they have to rely on that particular exception, looks like they've changed their mind on gun-free zone. I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. That's how it's looking to me. You got a question or a comment? Give us a call, 317-239-9393. I don't think we've had a single caller. We may set a record for the Gun Guy Show. Man, the last 3 weeks, we've had a ton of callers. But sometimes when I'm on more of a rant than having a general discussion, we don't get a lot of callers because I'm just ranting and people are just listening to me rant. But give us a call if you want to join the discussion, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Aliens land in Washington, D.C., and the hatch opens up, and the leader of the aliens steps on the lawn of the White House says, "Take me to your leader." And then this guy walks out of the White House.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Mark loves summers in Indy, but he hates to paint, so he called Rhino Shield.
It's a two-story home built in 1992. Around 2001, looking at needing to paint, I heard a radio ad, with a Rhino Shield, you won't have to paint again for another 25 years.
That's because Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
They're very professional. We had everything done. Everything that would typically be painted on a house was done, and it was very fast.
All right, Indy, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 10% off the regular price.
It was done in 2001 and still going strong. From what I've seen on our home, they can easily offer a 25-year guarantee and not worry about it.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Don't paint. Don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
It's not just adults who can feel stressed out. Our children feel stressed too. I'm Tammy Silverman of Indiana Youth Institute. Between school demands, maintaining friendships, and expectations from adults, it's no wonder that children sometimes feel stressed out. But unlike adults, experts say children may not be able to recognize stress or know how to cope. Luckily, you can help your child handle the challenges they're facing. Start by making yourself available to talk and be a good listener. Let your child express their views, and when you respond, focus on your child's feelings rather than your own. You can also ask your child what they need from you, whether it's advice or help solving a problem. But if stress is still overwhelming, experts recommend you reach out to a licensed mental health professional to make sure your child gets the support they need and deserve. This Kids Count Minute is a message from Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, visit IYI.org.
Kids Count on you.
Fox News, I'm Roger Stern. Americans are spending this holiday weekend traveling. Fox's Steve Harrigan is at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport.
Here in Atlanta, the busiest day so far has been Friday. TSA screened more than 100,000 people. That topped a record since the 2019 day after the Super Bowl.
FlightAware.com says more than 20,000 flights have been delayed today. Now that the Supreme Court has struck down President Biden's student debt relief program, he's putting together a workaround.
This new path is legally sound. It's going to take longer, but in my view, it's the best path that remains to providing for as many borrowers as possible with debt relief.
Many Republicans say that loan forgiveness was unfair to students who already paid their debt. America is listening to Fox News.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick Weight Loss Hypnosis Seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds.
And we feel great. Seminars July 20th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Or July 22nd at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Celebrate big and save even more this 4th of July with Family Dollar. Find all you need from snacks and drinks to party supplies and everything to set the mood. Like festive decor, buy one, get one 50% off. Then fire up the grill to feed your guests. Find Wonder Brand buns and Ballpark Franks both for just $3.25. And to wash it down, get 12 packs of Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper at 3 for just $12. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. But most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I'll say, Carl and I were laughing. I said, wow, we haven't had a caller yet. And the phone lines blew up. Some folks, I think, didn't want to sit on hold for a while because we literally, every phone line lit up as soon as I said that. So some folks didn't hang on, but several of you did. Carl sent me a note. Caller who couldn't hold says you cannot bring guns onto federal property like VA. Yeah, I know. I teach that class. I'm not sure why someone called and just offered that random point of law. I know that. Like I said, I teach that class, and that's true. If it's federal property, like a VA hospital, you can't carry guns there. But I'm not sure why that random bit of information someone felt compelled to call and share. Maybe I'm missing something. In the meantime, let's go to the phone lines. Several people have called. And Larry, you got a question for us?
Yeah. Back in the 80s, I had what was called a hunting and target permit that I got when I was 16.
Oh, handgun license. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Have they done away with that? My son recently turned 16, and since he enjoys shooting and stuff and has his license now, I thought I can get him this. He can go to the range. I can't find anything on it.
You know, Larry, I'll be honest. I haven't applied for my license in so long. I mean, I've had a lifetime pretty much since they've had lifetimes.
Same.
I don't think that's an option anymore because nobody ever got it. It used to be you could apply for a 4-year, and then that went to a 5-year, and that was less money than the lifetime permit. So people just chose between 4-year and then 5-year or lifetime because the lifetime cost you an extra $75. So it was up for to 125 total fees paid to your local authorities and plus the state for the lifetime. So some people got the 4-year and then 5-year just because it was cheaper. But that was the only choice. I remember specifically, you're right, there was a hunting and target practice permit, but I just don't think anybody ever got it. because the requirements were the same, and specifically more recently because now the lifetime's free. So in my mind, why get them more limited when it might be a situation like yours with your son? You don't want him carrying it all the time. You just want to be able to take him to the range and back. So it's your choice to more limit him on that. But you could still have that conversation with him and say, that's still your preference. That's the only time he carries, if that's the case. But no, I haven't heard of that actually being an option when you go to the website. If anybody knows differently, by the way, if you have applied for your license more recently, or any of my friends at the state police, like Kim Cross or Lieutenant Pete Wood, if you're listening, give me a call, 317-239-9393, so I can offer a more informed answer to Larry's question. But I don't think that's an option anymore. I think you just choose 5-year or lifetime, and that's it. And those are the options, again, because they're both free. In fact, nobody's getting a 5-year because the lifetime's free. So what the heck? Everybody's applying for the same thing. I wouldn't be too surprised to see the 5-year go away, except the 5-year was designed with this in mind. That is, if it's at least a 5-year license and it meets certain requirements, which our license all does, the ATF can, if it so chooses, allow your state to be what they call a POC, point of contact, for firearm purchases. And say, okay, if you have that license, and this in this case would be our 5-year, then if the ATF authorized this, which they have not done, so don't get too excited. In fact, they haven't made any new state a POC anytime recently. So I think certainly under Obama and then now under Biden, I can't see this ATF doing much of this, but I can't see him doing it at all. But if they wanted to, ATF could make Indiana the point of contact. So if you had a 5-year license, you could go into a gun store, just show your license, and walk out with your gun and not have to go through the NICS check. That's why the 5-year became a 5-year and why it was designed the way it was. But it requires the federal government to buy in, which they have not done. So that's why we even still have the 5-year, even though I'm sure very, very few people get it. If we ever became a POC, that I'm sure would have to be under some future Republican administration in Washington. So yes, party does matter, especially when it comes to gun control. Second Amendment issues, it matters to a huge degree. But if that ever happens, a lot of people I'm sure will rush out and get their 5-year, because then you just show your license and walk out with your gun and don't have to go through the NICS check. Let's go back to the phone lines. We've got Steve. Steve, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Thank you.
Sure. What you got?
Hey, Hero. Thank you for the advice on getting my weapon back from my MPD.
Oh, good.
It took a while, but I got it back.
Good.
And the comment on Broad Ripple, bars closing earlier and everything.
Yeah.
How's that going to stop the delinquents, whoever you want to call them, from starting trouble earlier now?
Well, fair question, Steve. and it won't. But I guess the idea is if you've got a let's say the witching hour, whatever you want to call it, starts at midnight, where the bad people are out doing whatever they're doing and they decide to go to Broad Ripple and cause problems. If they've got a 1-hour window, or however you want to define it, then less bad things are going to happen than if they've got a 4-hour window. That's just the idea. So now, nothing's going to prevent bad guys if they've got a particular agenda to show up in Broad Ripple and do bad things while the bars are still open. Yeah, they'll just start earlier, I suppose. But I think sometimes just because of the very, very late hours, people have had that much more time to drink or whatever recreational activities they're involved in, more time for fights to simmer. Again, more, I'm sure, alcohol and to the degree it applies, I'm sure some drugs. The more those have time to have that much more of an effect, the later on into the evening, the worse things get. So I think it is reasonable to think that it'll have some positive effect. But sure, if some bad guy's got a particular agenda, they'll just adjust their schedule accordingly. So I think it's a valid point. Let's go back to the phone lines. We've got Tom. Tom, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, so I got a little bit of a problem. My father died a couple years ago, and he had a small collection of guns. He was a Vietnam vet, 2 tours, Purple Heart, all that.
Awesome.
And he liked to buy ARs and got an AK Mac 90 rifle, semi-automatics. So I know he bought the AR, one of the ARs from like Rural King, in a 45 1911. He liked to buy stuff that looked like military stuff, kind of a nostalgia thing for him.
Sure.
But anyway, one AR he said he bought randomly off some guy off the street. And then there was a revolver that he bought off a friend. And so my question is, and I've got friends that are police officers that I've asked this question, and I've never been able to get a straight answer. Is there a way that I can check to make sure I don't have stolen property that's an inheritance without getting myself in trouble? Oh, yeah, you got a stolen gun, and then run me off to the jail for having a stolen firearm. I mean, I'm not saying they are, but I don't know where he got this particular AR, and I'm not into ARs and stuff, so they're just in a gun safe, and I'm just keeping them because it's just they were my dad's. But if there was a problem, I would turn them in, but I don't know how to go through that. There's got to be some sort of mechanism for that.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, Tom, for a private citizen to be in because we don't have access to the stolen gun database that law enforcement does. Now, I know some folks who have friends in law enforcement who will run it for them just as a personal favor, although I'm sure there are limitations on access to those databases. Like it has to be for some quote-unquote legitimate law enforcement purposes. There is a website out there, and this is one of those garbage in, garbage out situations. So it totally depends on people entering guns into the database. But if you go to hotguns.com, and I believe guns is spelled with a Z, so G-U-N-Z, hotguns.com, that is a database designed for private citizens to be able to search by serial number for whether a gun is stolen or not. Again, now, if somebody has a gun stolen and never bothers it to enter it in the database, then you're not going to find it. So that's why I say garbage in, garbage out. But that's one option that you have. Now, one thing that I need to pursue is that I have gotten different answers from my friends who are FFLs. Some say when they take a gun in, say in trade, that they have the ability to check to see if it's stolen or not. Others I've talked to said, no, we don't. So I don't know if that's because some of them just have an in with law enforcement and they have an agency somewhere that's willing to run that through the actual stolen gun databases that law enforcement keeps. But it's something we ought to look at, because it seems to me that law enforcement should want private citizens to be able to run that check, because the only reason you're checking is because you're trying to stay on the right side of the law. You're trying to do the right thing. Well, why wouldn't law enforcement want to help us do that? In other words, what incentive does law enforcement have to keep that private for law enforcement only, when it seems to me there'd be a legitimate purpose in helping private citizens do the right thing and identify if a gun's stolen or not? So that's something I think we ought to look at going forward. But in the meantime, I know a lot of people who are FFLs, federal firearms licensees that own gun stores, are listening to the show. If there's a way for an FFL to do that, do you have that access? Because I've gotten conflicting answers to that question, and I would love to run that down because, Tom, it's a completely legitimate question and something we ought to have a more definitive answer for. So I appreciate your call, and stay tuned. We may get more information on that. I'll tell you, we're a little past the 3/4 hour. We're taking a break. We have more people on hold. We'll go back to the phone lines when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
When talking about the first Independence Day, John Adams said,
"It ought to be solemnized with illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore."
Who are we to argue with the founding father? Join us for Downtown Indy's 4th Fest, presented by UA Local 440, Tuesday starting at 6, fireworks at 10, synchronized to a patriotic soundtrack here on 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Laws. It's 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. We've got one of those coming back to Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range. They've got a beautiful big classroom, nice comfortable facility located there in Avon, Indiana. We'd love to see you there. Again, it's 5 hours, and this is what you need to know as an Indiana gun owner. If you own a gun, you have a gun for self-protection, and certainly if you carry a gun, you need to stay on the right side of the law, and that's what this course is designed to provide, which is the information about Indiana and federal gun laws to help the Indiana gun owner stay on the right side of the law. It's $50 for an individual. It's $95 for couples. You can register right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
AE Ammo is Greenwood's ammunition superstore. The largest variety in training, hunting, and self-defense ammo with the best prices locally guaranteed. Factory new 9mm FMJ ammo starting at $12 per 50-round box. Factory new 50-round boxes, $380 from $14.99 and 45 ACP from $18.99. And with the AE Ammo Customer Rewards Program, start earning points today towards money back to use on future purchases. Shop in-store or online at aeammo.com.
Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling, Johnson County's American Standard independent heating and air conditioning dealer, invites you to celebrate America's birthday with them and have a shot at winning a Yeti cooler. Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling will be at the Franklin Firecracker Festival Monday evening, July the 3rd, by the stage with giveaways and a chance to win a new Yeti cooler. See you at Youngs Creek Park in Franklin. And with the hot weather, if you need AC service, visit callthemarshallnow.com. Marshall is your American Standard air dealer.
Attorney Joe Cordell. Divorce forces a father to focus on what's most important, his children. You may no longer be a husband, but you'll always be a dad. In the divorce process, this comes down to 3 key concerns: physical custody, decision-making, as well as financial support. Each of these is important, and it's important that you choose a lawyer that cares as much about these issues as you do.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Indianapolis area attorneys. 101 West Ohio Street, Suite 1250, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46204.
Join us at Downtown Indy's Fourth Fest, presented by UA Local 440 on the Indiana War Memorial Grounds. The event begins with a street party featuring live music, games, food, ice cream, and a beer garden from 6 to 10 p.m., followed by a spectacular fireworks display. The street party is brought to you by Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana, reminding you that one organ and tissue donor can save 8 lives and heal 75 more. Sign up at donatelifeindiana.org and talk to your family about your decision. For more info about the fireworks, go to downtownindy.org.
Why? Why take a chance? Why risk a mistake? Why say something? We all have reasons why we choose to ignore the things that give us pause, that seem out of place, that don't feel right. The word why can either paralyze us or empower us to stand up and protect what we love. So if you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my family.
I see safe for my friends.
I see say for my students.
We see say for each other.
I see say because all of this matters.
We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies this community we're all a part of. So protect your everyday. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
Hey, we're pretty social people at WIBC. You can find us all over social media. See what we're up to on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. We're never more than just away. Just search for 93 WIBC. He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for the last segment of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. I've got a couple of callers that want to talk about Broadripple. Let's bring in Keith. Keith, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, glad to talk to you again.
Sure, you too.
Hey, I was listening to Hammer and Nigel earlier this week, and they were interviewing somebody who's a multi-owner of bars down there, and I got it right.
In Broad Ripple.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and he said that most of the bars down there wand everybody for weapons and don't allow them in without weapons. So I guess be a devil's advocate. If you're down there with a weapon, you're not going to a bar. What are you doing?
Yeah, fair enough. But I fully believe, Keith, tell me if you disagree with this. I think a business owner ought to be able to decide whether they allow firearms or not, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to argue that a bit. No.
Okay. Yeah, and the thing, and I think you asked producer Carl a question, which is have they found the shooters of the people, of the 4 people shot, 3 of whom died here just over a week ago, and as far as I know, they haven't identified those folks. And this is what always happens is when a horrific crime happens, invariably liberals and I've seen some Republicans or conservatives at least tempted to do this, if not engaged in doing it too. So I don't know that it's just liberals, but certainly liberals invariably, when something bad happens, whether it's a school shooting or some other mass shooting, or in this case, a horrible crime, 4 people shot, 3 dead in Broad Ripple, is liberals want to punish everybody who didn't do it. I mean, that happens over and over and over again. So here, I'm a law-abiding citizen. In my case, I'm a professional firearms instructor. I've had thousands of hours of instruction. I've taught tens of thousands of hours of instruction. And I would be prevented from carrying a gun in Broad Ripple on a city street so that I have the capacity to defend myself and my family if this gun-free zone business goes forward. That's completely silly. Why punish me? How about finding the bad guys? How about keeping violent bad guys in prison and not just cranking them through this revolving door criminal justice system? Quickly, I'll tell you what, we're running right out of time, but Jay, you've been on hold for a while, buddy. I didn't want to just leave you hanging. So quickly, what do you got? Got a comment about Broad Ripple too?
Yeah, guy. Thanks for picking up. We'll go quick here. Hey, I've been going to Indianapolis for years with my wife. I don't even feel comfortable there anymore, and I've been around 60 years. Grew up here. In Broad Ripple, they want to put
Jay, I'm sorry, brother. We are right out of time, buddy, and we hope you enjoyed this week's show. We hope you come back next week.
Deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Tippecanoe County